การเป็นการชุมนุมแคตตาล็อกจากหรือว่าห้องสมุดมหาลัยของในกรุงเทพเรียกว่าในเขตปริมณฑลก็ได้นะคะในโอกาสอันดีนี้นะคะเราจะได้มารับฟังเรียนรู้แล้วก็รู้จักทาง DA นะคะซึ่งเป็นมาตรฐานการดำเนินการแบบใหม่นะคะสำหรับที่รองรับสื่อดิจิทัลหรือว่าสื่ออิเล็กทรอนิกส์ที่มีพัฒนาการหลากหลายรูปแบบนะคะที่จะรองรับในการที่จะจัดเก็บข้อมูลแล้วก็การสืบค้นได้ที่ตรงกับความต้องการของผู้ใช้นะคะซึ่งในโอกาสนี้นะคะทางบริษัท AMS นะคะได้จัดการบรรยายนี้นะคะโดยมิสเตอร์หวังนะคะและมิสชูเอนนะคะจาก OCLC นะคะจะมาให้ความรู้เราในเรื่องของ RDA นะคะค่ะเชิญได้เลยค่ะมิสเตอร์หวัง
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here today to see so many librarians here in. Thank you. So many librarians in Thailand to come to this seminar. We are going to spend afternoon together, and I hope that we will have a good time. The presentation is on RDA. If you are not here for RDA, you may leave now. And the PowerPoint presentation I'm going to make this afternoon is put together by myself. Andrew Wang is my name, and also by Suan Chai, who sit over here. And before I actually get into the RDA, let me make some acknowledgement. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to AMS for organizing this seminar. Will AMS staff please stand up so we can recognize you? Give you a good hand. And also would like to thank Thammasat University Library for providing this very comfortable seminar room for hosting this seminar. Well, Thammasat University Library staff, please stand up so we can give you a hand. Thank you very much. And also, I would like to make an acknowledgement that in preparation of this presentation, that both Suan Chai and I have consulted all this information, so we should give them credit. And also, I would like to set a realistic expectation of this seminar. What are you going to get out of this? You know, by attending this seminar on RDA, you will not become an expert on RDA. In other words, when you go out of this room later this afternoon, you cannot identify yourself as an expert on RDA, you know everything. That is not realistic. So if you plan to become an expert this afternoon on RDA, you may also leave now. However, we are going to learn something. You're going to learn something, I'm going to learn something as well. Now, what are we going to learn? That we will have a general understanding on what RDA is. Hopefully, by the time you leave this afternoon, you know more about RDA than you do now. So we learn something, right? And if you are a cataloger, starting tomorrow, you should do some further study on RDA because you are not an expert yet on RDA. But if you are not a cataloger, I feel sorry for you because the presentation is going to be very boring to you. And my advice is you may take a nap if you are not a cataloger, but one requirement, please do not snore too loud. So it is a realistic expectation of what you're going to get out of this. All right, so you will not be disappointed. What is RDA? RDA stands for Resource Description and Access. That's where RDA comes from, Resource Description and Access. RDA is to replace AACR2. So you know AACR2? AACR2 has been with us forever, right? Starting next year, there will be no more AACR2. And this is what I told you. We're going to use a lot of jargon, even not a catalog. You even don't know what is AACR2, right? But if you're a catalog, you understand what I'm talking about. When would RDA come in and AACR2 will go out? Library of Congress has already announced its plan to implement RDA on March 31, 2013, which is next year. In other words, we still have 9 months to get ourselves ready. And the OCLC connection service, which is the OCLC cataloging service, which is used by most of catalogers in this world, actually has been ready. We, OCLC, are ready to support RDA even today. We have been ready for at least 1 year to support RDA. So in other words, if you wish to begin cataloging RDA on Monday of next week on OCLC, you may do so. And before I get into RDA, let's really think about some fundamental issues. What is cataloging? Many people think, many catalogers think, cataloging is to find a free mark format. That is really much too low level of understanding what cataloging is. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself first. I was born in Taiwan, so I speak Taiwanese and Chinese Mandarin. However, I have spent most of my life living in the United States of America. So I learned to speak English poorly. And I received my graduate degree in library science in the United States of America. My first job in the United States of America. Oh. Thank you. So now I know who I am. My first job in the United States was a cataloger. So I can speak the same language that you speak. And then my second job in the United States was the head of cataloging department. And my third job in the United States of America was a deputy director for technical services in the university library, supervising cataloging, acquisitions, and serial control. And my fourth job in the United States of America is with OCLC. So I have worked for OCLC for only 36 years. So you know, I'm at least 30 years of age. I'm at least 36 years old, although I don't look 36 years old. So just the background. While I was in the United States, for my graduate education, AACR, not ACR2, ACR just came out. It was a big deal. Prior to that time, there was ALA cataloging rules. And then came, so you all understand, right? Then came AACR. So I'm going to review all this history briefly later on. But since I just let you know, really my background in library science is cataloging. Please do not think cataloging is to find a free mark format record. That means cataloging. If that is the case, you do not need any education in library science. Any library, any people can try to find a free mark record on the web. What is cataloging then? Cataloging actually is to bring order out of mess. If, for instance, just for instance, I'm going to give you 100,000 volumes of book. No, I'm not going to give you any book today, okay? But just for instance, I'm going to give you 100,000 volumes of books. And you just put all of this book on the shelf. Can anybody find any book? No, they cannot find any book. Actually, I can tell you the most economical way to arrange these 100,000 volumes of book. There are two different ways, very economical way. One is to arrange them by the size. The shorter size on the first floor, the medium size on second floor, and the taller size on third floor. Very economical, right? You just see the signs and say, this goes to first floor, this goes to second floor, this goes to third floor. So you save a lot of money that way. So when a lecturer or a student come to the library and say, do you have this book? Then you ask them, what is the size of the book? Small or medium or large? Then I tell you which floor you go to. If you arrange them that way, no one can find any information. Although you do have information, no one can find it. Another way, even better way, do you know what? Arrange the book by the color of the cover. All the red book on the third floor, the blue books on the second floor, and the yellow book. I'm not talking about content, I'm talking about the cover. All the yellow book on the first floor. So if a lecturer or a student come to ask you, do you have this book? You ask them, what is the color of the book? So I'll tell you where you can go to. Neither of this is called cataloging. Because although you can arrange them beautifully in the library building, it does not help anybody to find any information. So what is cataloging? It's bring order out of mess. In other words, you got to provide some ordering, logical arrangement of the information so that users say, I'm interested in organic chemistry. Oh, you go to the third floor. We got 5,000 books there, so you can browse. Every book standing together on the shelf are on organic chemistry. You are interested in child psychology. You go to the second floor. There are another 3,000 books sitting together, standing all together, are on child psychology. That is cataloging, to bring order out of mess. The second is to consolidate mass. This is not mess, this is mass. The first one is mass, the second one is mass. That means large quantity of detailed information into an organized, easy to find fashion. There's so many authors. You deal with maybe 10,000 different authors. That's a mass of detailed information. Okay? But you can bring the same author on the same subject together. So make it easy for user who is going to find books in political science written by the same author. They stand together. So it's all really create order in really a organized, easy to find fashion to help user quickly find the information they need. That's what cataloging is all about. And also to bring together related information. That is why we need authority control. We need subject headings. We need fervor, FRBR. You heard about FRBR, right? Fervor. Americans read it as fervor. I don't know how you read it. You know, when I go to other countries, they read. In Taiwan, they read FRBR. I said, okay, whatever you want to read it, it's okay. But I just tell you, Americans read FRBR as fervor. Now, why do we need all of this? For instance, authority control. There's a name authority control. There's subject authority control. Okay? Let me give you why authority control is so important. You know, 50 years ago, you know, when I came here, Suan Chai and I came here to Thailand, we came from USA. It took us about 30 hours to come to Bangkok. So we took a transportation. That is what we call today airplane. 50 years ago, it was not called airplane. You know what it was called 50 years ago? It was called aeroplane. A-E-R-O. I'm not kidding. It's the truth. They call it aeroplane. Today, we call it airplane. So is an aeroplane and airplane the same thing? Of course, the same thing. But in computer or in the car catalog, you're too young to know about car catalog, right? Aeroplane and airplane do not file together. All right. Today, even in computer, you search airplane, you never can find aeroplane, or vice versa. If you search aeroplane, you never can find airplane. That's why we need authority control, really to bring together related information. Let's make a decision whether it's aeroplane or airplane. Here's my name. I didn't know I had a name, but now here is my name. Actually, I have several names. One, of course, was the real name my father gave me when I was born, which is not Andrew Wang. My name became Andrew Wang when I went to United States of America. Do you know why? Because Americans asked me, what's your name? So I told them my Chinese name. They cannot pronounce. And they never can remember my name. It's so confusing. So I become a person who is without a name. So I better come up with a name they can remember. And they know how to call me. So for the past many years, my name became Andrew Wang. So I have at least two names, at least. Actually more than two names. But the same person. Okay? So if you search in computer under Andrew Wang, well, you find something. If you search my real, original Chinese name, you also find something. But the same person. But they don't group together. So we need authority control. It's the same person. Different name, it's okay. Let's establish a heading so that when you are going to find some information by or about Andrew Wang, this guy, you can retrieve them all. That is cataloging. So please, once again, please do not think or tell people that my job is to find a free market record. Don't downgrade your own job. Sit high. We are doing a very important task here. Okay? Then why do we need cataloging rule? Now you know what is cataloging. Then why do we need cataloging rules? Number one, to create consistency. Consistency is so important in cataloging. You know, today, if there is no catalog rule, and I'm so smart, today I catalog based on some rule out of my own personal imagination. Okay? Tomorrow, my boss says something back to me and hurt my feeling. And I still got to catalog some books. So, since my feeling feels so depressed, so I also continue to catalog some books, but my rule changed because I don't feel happy. That's inconsistent. You got to, whether you are happy or you are mad, you catalog a book, go by the same rule, so the end result is consistent. Without consistency, user cannot find any information. Number two, to standardize practice. Consistency and standardization may be the same thing, may not be the same thing. Consistency means if this is work I do every day, okay, I do it the same way. This is what is consistency mean. Standardization means what? If you have two catalogers working in the same library, although each one of them are very consistent, but they do things differently. That's consistency, but no standard, no standardization. So you got to consistent and also be standardized. You got to do it the same way. That is standardization. Today, we are talking about global resource sharing. You cannot say, Thammasat University, we are very consistent. We have our own rule. Every cataloger follow our own Thammasat rule. Okay? And then Mahiro, also we're also consistent, follow our Mahiro rules. And Mahiro rules and Thammasat rules are different. That's no standardization. So you got to understand, consistency and standardization are really two important key concepts in cataloging. And then the end result had to be the ease of use. In other words, we do all this work not to satisfy myself. We do all this work to help users to find the information without making tremendous effort. That is the whole objective of cataloging. Okay? And then economy, what the economy mean? Economy could mean two things. One is to save money. That is what economy is. Okay? Since we do it all the same way, it makes things easier. You know, in 1986, a long time ago, right? 1986. That's 26 years ago. I went to China, or mainland China, for the first time in my life. And I landed in Beijing. Prior to 1986, I had never been in China because I was born in Taiwan. And Taiwan people cannot visit China. And Chinese people could not visit Taiwan because Chiang Kai-shek did not like Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong did not like Chiang Kai-shek. Or because of that. Now I'm American. I carry American passport. If Chiang Kai-shek doesn't like Mao Zedong, it's okay. I'm American. So I went to China. Actually, I received invitation from Chinese Academy of Sciences, asked me to give lectures in many libraries. So I was landed in Beijing. You know, the next morning when I wake up, I try to share my beer. You know, congratulations, ladies, you don't have to share your beer. But men have to share my beer. And my shaver is electronic. So I have to plug into the wallet on the wall. I could not plug in. You know why? Because their socket is different from American. I could not plug it in. Well, I said, well, this is China. This is not USA. So it's okay. So I called the hotel people. I said, could you help me? I said, what? So I explained to him. I said, I'm American. I carry some American, the beer shiver. Plug into your socket. I could not plug in. Do you have any converter? Oh yeah. They gave me one. And I thought, oh, then I'm going to fly from Beijing to Shanghai to Wuhan to many cities. And this is China. So I better buy one. So I carry it with me. Okay. So I said, I'm going to buy this one. How much do you charge me? So they gave me a price. So I pay you. So this is mine. So I thought, well, then in China, I'm okay. I'm safe. So after staying in Beijing for 3 days, I flew to Shanghai, and every day I got to shave my beard, right? So I woke up in Shanghai and trying to use a converter plug into the socket in Shanghai. It would not plug in. What's going on here? So I called the hotel people again. I explained to them. And I said, I purchased one from Beijing. Why I cannot play in Shanghai? You know what he told me? What do you borrow? It was in Beijing. This is Shanghai. This is not Beijing. All right, this is Beijing. This is Shanghai, not Beijing. I thought in the United States, whether California, New York, Ohio, it's the same thing. But in China, Beijing is Beijing, Shanghai is Shanghai. I said, well, so I got to buy another one. So I buy 2. Then I flew to Wuhan, another city. And I woke up. The Beijing and Shanghai, neither of them work in Wuhan. So I called hotel again. They said, of course it won't work. One from Beijing, one from Shanghai, this is Wuhan. Oh my God. So when I was making presentation in Wuhan, I told them the importance of standardization. Standardization means economy. Economy means 2 things, okay? One, I already told you, saving money. Another one is ease of use, that economy. Save my time. Save my money and save my time, that's standardization. So about 100 people came to my seminar in Wuhan. And I told them the story I just told you. The experience Beijing and Shanghai and Wuhan. And I said, why China cannot standardize these small things? Make it easy for everybody. So I do not have to spend if I visit 10 cities in China, in the end I got to carry 10, there's a converter back to United States. I cannot use any of them. Okay? So standardization. Make it easy for users. And it's also economical for the manufacturer and also for the consumers. And they all laugh. 100 people all laugh and think this is an excellent example. They never thought about it because they live there, accept that it to be the fact. After my presentation, the director of library came to see me. I said, Mr. Wang, your example was excellent. But one thing you don't know. I said, what? What thing I didn't know? Then he told me. He said, the electronic socket in my house, everyone is different. I said, oh my God. We got to learn consistency, standardization, doing cataloging. You got to have global perspective. Don't just say within the city, Beijing is the same, but different from Shanghai. Okay? All right? AACR, 1967. Before that, there was no AACR at all. And was designed to use in the construction of catalog and other lists in general library of all sizes. And then it covers 2 things, the description of, and also the provision of man and entry for library material. In other words, how do you describe library materials? And then how do you establish main entry and edit entry. Okay. At that time, read the bottom two lines. At that time, 1967. That was the age of card catalog. Remember I told you you're too young to know about card catalog? That's card catalog. At that time, there was no internet. There was no World Wide Web. There was no e-journals. There was no e-book. There was nothing e, except you eat. Everything was printed. Printed book, printed journal, card catalog. That was age, background, okay? This was actually not really very long ago. It's actually only about 45 years ago. So the world changed very rapidly, right? And then the principle is that you always catalog the item in hand. Don't catalog a book if you don't have the book in your hand. That was the principle. You catalog from the piece in hand. If you don't buy a book, okay, don't catalog your bad dream last night. You have to have something physical in your hand. So you have to catalog from that. And that is part of the concept of cheap source of information. Remember this? When you catalog, you got to have a book in hand. That book in hand is the cheap source of information. So you catalog from that title page. There was a saying that the difference between a lecturer and a cataloger is cataloger read the title page and lecturers read what follow the title page. And then came ACR2, 11 years later, in 1978. So you know ACR2 has been with us for 34 years. Many of you are even not 34 years of age, right? ACR2 has been with catalogers for a long time. However, in 1978, still the age of card catalog, still no internet, still no World Wide Web. But at that time, why ACR2? Really the basic change of ACR2 from ACR was to reconcile the British version of ACR with North American version of ACR, to reconcile them together, okay? And at the same time, adopt ISBD. You're a catalog, you know ISBD. And to the superimposition in the USA, for the superimposition, because during the ALA rule age, the American, when you catalog, let's say, Thomas University, as an entry, either the main entry or edit entry, you got to catalog Thailand, period, Bangkok, period, Thomas University, period, library. Remember this? If you remember this, you're very senior staff. The younger catalog don't understand what this is about. Today, if Thomas University is the author, I'm sure you publish a lot of publication, right? Then ACR2 is Thomas University, comma, Bangkok, comma, Thailand, period, right? Change, it's called superimposition. That is a big change from ACR to AACR2. And then the style used the Chicago Manual style and the spelling the Webster New International Dictionary. We are not here to talk about ACR2. Okay, but ACR2 basically have two parts. The part one provision on how to describe the item. All right. Part 2 tell you how do you establish the headings, main headings, edit headings. How do you establish those? And this is a simple, really, history. You know, ACR 2 published in 1988, and then 10 years later, there's a revision, and then in 2002, there's further revision, and followed by 3 annual updates, and that was it. However, they actually start working on for ACR 3. But in the course of rewriting ACR 3, they decided to abandon ACR in favor of RDA. Okay? And the RDA is basically developed based on FRBR, FRBR. And it's actually more flexible and suitable for use in a digital environment. This is a very important concept because now the environment is totally different. ACR 8, I already told you, everything was printed and it was card catalog. And today, everything is computer and the material is increasingly e-version. So we have to accommodate many of these things. So that's really why RDA came into being. The RDA, let me give you just a brief history. It really emerged from the International Conference on Principle and Future Development of ACR, held in Toronto, Canada in 1997. Start talking about, shall we rewrite ACR 3? So requiring a substantial revision to ACR 2. And on the way to ACR 3. But in the course of developing ACR 3, they say, why don't we just scrap ACR? We don't want it. We need a totally new set of rules, as opposed to a revision to ACR 2. Let's get rid of ACR 2 altogether and start with new rules. And that is what RDA actually came into being. So what is RDA? It's a set of instructions for cataloging a book and other materials held in library and other cultural organizations such as museums and galleries. In other words, ACR 2 was used exclusively by libraries. RDA certainly most of the time will be used by libraries. But in writing RDA, they also take into consideration the needs of museums and galleries so that they can also incorporate those materials as well. And this is a new standard design for use in a digital environment. As I pointed out, there is really no rule, no catalog rule at all for electronic information. So RDA is going to accommodate this. And is built on the foundation established by ACR. However, the whole purpose is going to throw ACR out of the window to replace it. And also it's actually built upon all these standards. You know, the FRBR 1998, and the FRBR is for the bibliographic records, and also for the authority data in 2009, and also statement of international cataloging principle 2009, and also functional requirements for subject authority data in 2010. Now, all of these standards actually have been taken into consideration in the development of RDA. Okay? But really, the fundamental things is it's really developed based on the concept of FRBR, of FRBR. So if you know what FRBR is, it will help you understand better why RDA require you to this and that. Okay? So, fundamental difference between AACR2 and RDA is AACR2 is format-based, whereas RDA is verbal-based. What is a format-based? Because if you use AACR2, you have different cataloging rules for cataloging AV materials, different set of rules for cataloging maps, different set of cataloging rules for cataloging serials, different set of rules for cataloging books, right? It's really format-based. That's what AACR2 was about. Whereas RDA threw all these differences out of the window, and it's forward-based. Now later on, I will tell you, give you a review what is really forward, FRBR. It's really relationship-based, not format-based. Okay? So there's a fundamental difference between the two. All right? However, record created according to RDA should be compatible with the existing record created under the rule of AACR2. 2 days ago, here in Bangkok, someone asked me, would OCLC convert entire database into RDA? I said no. And then a question to me, second question to me, then how do you do searching? I said, good. You continue to do the searching. You continue to find all the information because of this. When they developed AACR2, when they developed RDA, they take into consideration of AACR2 so that record in AACR2 and the record in RDA will be compatible when you do the searching. Because OCLC just cannot simply convert 260 million records into RDA, because that is not something can be completely exclusively handled by computer. You know, do you know the OCLC WorldCat has 260 million records? Do you know how big that is? In Thailand, population is 60 million people, right? Now, WorldCat have more than 4 times as many records as the population in Thailand. In other words, if we give WorldCat to Thai people, each person in Thailand will get 4 records. So that's really how big the database is. So this is a very important statement. When they develop RDA, record created according to RDA should be compatible with existing record created under rules of AACR2. There is no direct conflict. Very important for you to remember. So in other words, your database, your existing database, do not have to be converted to RDA. That's good news, right? So you can all go home now. All right, these are just really the organization that is in charge of this development of the RDA in the Joint Steering Committee. For short, it's called JSC, responsible for maintaining RDA, and this organization, American Library Association, Australian Committee on Cataloging, British Library, Canadian Committee on Cataloging, and then Charter Institute of Library Information Professional and the Library Congress. You know, these 6 organizations are in charge. You know, when I look at this list, the catalog rule is actually still being driven by the Western world. There's really no Asian organization here. So very much really driven by the Western world. You know, we need to admit that, especially United States, is very advanced in librarianship. So they are leading the way. And I hope that before long, that Asian librarianship can exceed the American librarianship, so we will lead the way. So American will follow us. I don't know when that is going to happen. And the committee of principals, this also can compose the American Library Association, Canadian Library Association, the Senate, Library Congress, Library and Archive Canada, British Library, National Library of Australia. Again, you know, exclusively really